Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. Today, we watched Wolfman. Hannah, why did you make me do this?
Kevin, I was gonna start with that. You did this.
No, I didn't.
I was gonna say, are you happy now?
No.
Are you happy?
No, I'm not. I've been reviewing movies for 2 weeks now. I quit.
Yeah, the going gets tough.
Yeah. You know, I was hoping it was just gonna be like fun. I didn't think it was gonna be great. It's a January movie. How good could it be? But it actually was fun for like 20 minutes. I thought they were getting me to like these people, and then something happens, and I thought that first scene, the first thrilling scene, was legitimately pretty thrilling. And I was like, oh my god, this might be a fun movie. And then they run into this house, and the movie absolutely just falls apart.
Yeah, I think I went in knowing it was going to be bad because I've been similarly burned by other Blumhouse movies. I have this experience every time there's a Blumhouse trailer that, like, before I know it's Blumhouse, I'm seeing the images, I'm like, oh, this looks cool, and then it says Blumhouse, and I'm like, I know it's going to be bad. I know that it's going to be like a cool premise, and then just nothing's going to happen.
But Blumhouse made good movies before. They made, and I might be wrong, but they made Get Out. They made Whiplash.
What?
Blumhouse.
No.
Yes.
Are you sure?
I think so. I'm pretty sure.
How did they do Whiplash?
I know.
Or that's crazy. I mean, that must have been that's like a different time.
Like. Here's why the movie doesn't work. Leigh Whannell made The Invisible Man. Pretty good movie. I liked it.
It was okay.
Well, what he did with that movie is he tried to elevate horror. Mm-hmm. He made it about an abusive relationship, right? A woman stuck in an abusive relationship trying to get out. So for me, as I said, I'm not a huge fan of horror, but I like good stories. And so that movie had a story to tell, and it felt unique. It felt like no one's been talking about that subject matter. And this movie, he's trying to show a family member getting sick and the other family members dealing with the grief of that. So what happens is you have like the wife refusing to let him go. So she keeps inviting this man into the house who's clearly a monster, who's like chewing his arm off and looks like he...
Yeah, at that point, she should have been like, all right, you're out.
Right. But here's what I'm getting at. But then at the same time, they're trying to portray the Wolfman as this guy who's trying to hang on to his humanity and still wants to protect his family, right? So it's this wishy-washy dynamic where by the time the Wolfman has fully changed, it never feels like the family is in any danger. It just feels like you don't know if the Wolfman wants to eat them or hug them. So on top of that, you have the problem, which is that I watched the trailer, right? And I'm like, okay, it's a mother, father, daughter. The mother and daughter are not dying. There's no way. I'm just like, from the very start, I'm like, they're not gonna die. It's gonna be about him getting sick, wrestling with his humanity, and at the end he's gonna kill himself. I was a little bit wrong, because he doesn't kill himself at the end, but he gets them to shoot him, you know? So it's...
Which I think is essentially him killing himself.
Yeah, more or less. But it's when you can easily predict an entire movie from watching a 2-minute trailer, it's not the best. And if all of that family dynamic drama stuff works, then I would have given it a pass maybe. Mm-hmm. But that stuff didn't work. The scenes stopped being thrilling immediately after the first one. And the Wolfmen looked so stupid.
Are you sure it's Wolfmen and not Wolfmans?
The Wolfmans, whatever. First of all, they're barely...
Yeah.
Sean Connery has a hairier chest than the Wolfman.
Maybe there's some licensing to get the full wolf outfit.
I don't get it. And it's not to say that the makeup didn't look good, because the makeup looked
good.
great.
Yeah.
It's just, it was such an odd, like, design. It's like you're barely doing the thing, you know, that everyone wants.
Yeah, I feel like the way that they looked at the end of the transformation is what I would assume would be like the middle of the transformation.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, I thought the most interesting parts were where you were seeing through his perspective as he's, like, turning into a monster. But they only gave us such small snippets of that. Like, the scene, like, we talked about the scene where he heard the spider walking. And, like, for us as an audience, we think there's, like, a wolf man trapped in his house, and we're like, why is he going and finding it? He must have known that it wasn't as big of a threat as a wolf man, because he was opening all the doors looking for it, and it turned out to be a spider. But that was kind of like an interesting thing. And then also the couple little moments where it showed through his eyes and how he couldn't understand them and how, like, they looked. I wish there was more of that. I think it would have been cool if, like, the whole thing was through his perspective. But instead it was just, like, such small flashes, and then the bulk of that, you know, last part of the movie is just, like, a scared mom and her daughter running around and not knowing what to do.
I thought, yeah, I mean, that was the one idea that they had that was neat, was showing his viewpoint on everything. And they did that really well.
But they only did it for such small instances.
But I think that was fine. And because they utilized it well. It was always, whenever the mom or daughter was talking to him, it was at, like, the most brutal point. It's like when they're like, I love you so much, you know, like, you mean the world to, and then just goes to him and he can't hear a word of it.
Yeah.
Can you understand me?
How did he get infected?
He got scratched.
When?
When the truck flipped over in the beginning.
Right as it was flipping, he got scratched?
No. The original Wolfman breaks through the window and scrapes him.
Oh, I thought that was just the glass breaking.
You didn't see the giant wolf hands?
No. I thought that I thought that the glass from the window just broke.
No, there was, like, a pretty prominent, like, Wolfman hand.
Or maybe that's a problem with
comes
us.
through the window and scratches the shit out of him.
We like watching movies in the third row. And I feel like sometimes when you're sitting close and you have to be, like, looking, like, you know, you have to, like, move your eyes to, like, see the whole screen sometimes.
You know, this happens a lot where, like, a really prominent thing happens in a movie and you completely miss it.
And I'm sitting there watching.
Was it the man coughing up phlegm? Was he distracting
Maybe,
you?
actually, I did give him a couple, like, looks. Mm-hmm. And maybe I was, like, giving him an extended look while that happened. I don't know.
He was coughing like there was a gallon of water stuck in his throat. It was disgusting. And I'm watching a movie where a guy is biting his arm off. And the guy coughing was more gross. Anyway.
So, Kevin.
Yes, Hannah.
Do you have any final thoughts on the movie?
It was really bad. And I think I'm starting to agree with you that Blumhouse is just pure awful. Blumhouse did make Night Swim, right?
They did.
Okay, that was the stupidest thing I've ever seen in my life. This was actually better than Night Swim.
I think Night Swim was better.
No, I don't think...
I think Night Swim was more creative and more happened.
No.
That had to have had a higher budget than this.
Night Swim was just the Okay, I love how we're trying to wrap up the review. Night Swim was the dumbest thing I've ever seen in my entire life.
But it was more entertaining than this. This was like nothing. This is like a nothing burger.
Maybe, yeah.
But I feel like Night Swim was not a good movie, but at least it was more creative, in my opinion.
So your final thoughts on Wolfman?
Not good.
All right, so Hannah, we also watched A Complete Unknown because you made me watch A Complete Unknown.
If you're traveling in the North Country Fair.
I say no one wants to hear what a kid wrote last month.
Well, I like your songs.
It was a better theater experience than the last movie.
Wolfman?
Yeah. we actually had an entirely empty theater, which was really nice.
Yeah.
And Hannah, what did you think of A Complete Unknown?
I went into it hoping it would be more than like the that word's so hard. Biopic?
I think it's biopic.
Biopic. I went into it hoping it was going to be more than like the regular biopic.
I might be wrong. I don't know.
Can I say biopic?
You sure?
I went into it hoping it would be more than just those regular biopics we've been seeing.
That doesn't sound right. It can't be
That
biopic.
sounds like a medical procedure.
Yeah.
I went into it hoping it would be more than these other movies we've seen in recent years where they're following an artist's life. And I feel like they're so like pandering to an audience and they're like, you like this music, so you're going to have fun watching this movie because we're putting in noises that we already know you like. I was hoping it would be more than that. I want to give it credit and say it was like a little bit better than what I think of some of those other movies, but it still wasn't as good as I was hoping it would be.
Do you know anything about Bob Dylan?
I know little. My parents are big fans.
Okay.
So I feel like I grew up hearing his music, but I didn't know a lot about him as a person.
Yeah, I don't know anything about Bob Dylan. I didn't know anything about Bob Dylan before watching the movie. And I still don't know anything about Bob Dylan after watching the movie, except that maybe he's a huge asshole. I think that's all I really learned. That's a little... Okay.
Yeah.
That's a little unfair. You get little snippets about him. Like, clearly he's a very driven person. He doesn't care what anyone else thinks. He wants to do his own thing. That's kind of what the whole movie becomes about, is everyone telling him, you have to do this. You have to stick to your folk music. And he's like, go fuck yourself.
I do think that was kind of the point, though, that like he had that conversation with Sylvie where he was saying like, you know, when you become someone different, it's not like you're finding yourself. It's just like that's who you are now and who you were in the past is different. Like I could kind of get behind the fact that like they purposely weren't saying anything about his upbringing because it didn't matter. And it didn't matter to him.
I get that, and I get that that's the point of the movie. I just don't think it was particularly interesting. It was like a drama-less movie, you know? And it's funny because when they finally, towards the end of the movie, they're like, you know, Hollywood has to get involved here. Like, something's got to happen. So there's like all these like fights break out like in one of the concerts, and I leaned over to you and I was like...
Well, you didn't lean over because we were the only ones in the theater.
Whatever, yeah. I was like, that didn't happen, you know? Someone's punched...
I think it might have happened. You know, I always give movies based on true events a little bit more credit because I'm like, if there isn't a more interesting story to tell, then like I would rather them show the events as it is than like manufacture drama that didn't happen in this historical movie where everything else is true. So I'm kind of like down with the fact that it was just like the journey of him.
Yeah, well, that's what I liked about it. It was just...
But I think it relied on people liking his music.
Yeah.
Yeah, it relied on people already having a bias towards him.
Yes, because like at a certain point, you know, something has to happen. Mm-hmm. You know, this isn't just like hanging out with Bob Dylan. But that is what it is. That doesn't make a good movie, though.
But it was about his career and how his attitudes affect... Yeah, it was much more about, like, get to know the early years of Bob Dylan than it was, like, here's a compelling story.
All right, well, Hannah, thank you so much for talking to me about movies again.
You're welcome.
And we'd also like to thank my parents, who I told them to lock themselves in their bedroom down that hallway so that we could film this.
And he nailed the door shut like the guy does in Wolfman.
Yeah. And I told them, shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
I said, shut up, don't make a sound. We're trying to film a video here. It's important. I'm 34. Trying to film a YouTube video.
Yeah, imagine. I feel like you wouldn't be as nice. Like, imagine this. The year is 2065.
Mm-hmm.
And your 34-year-old freeloading son and his boyfriend want to film a video for TrumpTube.
My son's gay?
Everyone's gay. Would you be as happily?
What is Trump Tube?
That's what it's going to be. We're gonna have Trump Tube, Trump Book, Trump Talk.